Hey everybody, what is going on? It is Friday night. You're here with the dog. The dog just cracked open. What do you got there, dog?
I got a nice little two-hearter here on this fine Friday night, Paul.
All right, let me.
I had to make sure the two-hearter get an introduction before I introduce myself.
Right, well, here. I've got the Howler.
Howler.
This is from a local brewery. A dad on my daughter's basketball team runs this place. It's called the Hawk Moth Brewery in Rogers, Arkansas. So
nice.
Shout out to the Hawk Moth and Rogers.
Shout out to
cream ale.
Nice.
Is that 5.6%?
That's a heavy hitter there. Let me see. Actually, Paul, this little two-hearted here is from Bell's in Michigan. Shout out to Bell's in Michigan. It's an IPA, American IPA, and this has got 7%.
Well, so you're going to be 3 sheets to the wind by the end of the podcast, and I'm just going to be.
I'm already on my third one, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I am really on my second one because I had to get the first one out of the way. It's like bullshit.
Well, this is a 25-ounce can, so I'll catch up to you by the end.
No, we're good.
Well,
welcome, guys. Good. The week was good. Work was busy.
Good.
It kept me busy for the week. The week flew by.
For those of you who don't know, the dog here is up for a promotion that we're really hoping he gets. Hopefully, we still get to spend time with him, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
He's got it.
But no, the job kept me busy this week, and then the market really wasn't paying attention to how the portfolio was like actually performing until the end of this week to basically today. But I was basically
pretty slow.
Yeah, it was slow. I mean, I was up and then I was down. It was kind of just like stagnant. Nothing like
it was
really
a sideways.
Crazy.
It was a sideways. I think we ended up like red for the week, like overall, but it was minor.
S&P's down 1.1%. Nothing to sweat about.
Yeah.
Nasdaq was down 2.4%.
Unless you're a Google or a Lyft shareholder. Lyft, dang! Did you see them?
Oh my God,
30% or some crap like that.
Yeah, ridiculous. Do you think those stocks like that and Uber will bounce back?
So here's the thing, and this is what I've heard from just different. So I listened to Jason Calcanis. He's got the All In podcast with Chamath Palihapitiya, David Sachs, and David Freeberg. So they're a little group of billionaires who have a podcast. This is a good show too. I like it. And then he has his own podcast called the All In, or I'm sorry, the This Week in Startups. He was an early investor in Uber, so and I think he's still part of, he still holds shares there as a shareholder. But he has he's bullish on them obviously because he's a shareholder. But he talks about the distinctions between Uber and Lyft being the direction Uber is moving away from rideshare or making rideshare less of a focus of the business. They're moving more into transportation because there's like an Uber for freight. There's Uber Eats, obviously, and I think Lyft is kind of stagnated in just rideshare, which is not profitable. It isn't. They have to pay their drivers and they have to charge riders more. And that's just a loop that you can't get into if you're trying to compete with somebody else like Uber, who doesn't necessarily rely on rideshare alone for their revenue. I haven't looked into it very deeply. That's what I gather from just listening to the conversations. So that to me indicates that if you were inclined to invest in that sector or that business model, Uber would be my choice. I'm not a shareholder in either. I don't plan on being a shareholder in either, but if I were, I would start with Uber and see what they go from there. But Lyft, they came in under what they were projecting. They had bad earnings and they dropped 30%. So that tells you right there. I don't know how much of that was people shorting it, looking for shorts, or if it was just
there were some guys out there shorting it.
Definitely. So we'll see how that goes.
No, I looked at Uber before when I'll say last year, around this time last year, I was looking at Uber. I actually bought some shares and just didn't like the way the stock was moving, so I put it on the SCHD.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I noticed they had Uber Freight. I was like, oh wow, Uber's got freight, man. So they're not just like being a taxi service.
And that's what they are. Yeah, they're diversifying their stuff, so they're gonna have more money coming in.
Do you think anyone could possibly purchase them?
No, I think Uber will be the acquirer, if anything, going forward.
So
there's lots of little startups out there, but
yeah, you got Postmates and,
Well, those are like just the major, like, I mean, when I lived in California, there were all kinds of little startups trying to get in that business. Like I would see ads all the time. Come drive for Momo, come drive for Boo Boo. I mean, all kinds of different names and people trying to start up little ride shares in the area. So I don't know if any of those would ever have a foothold that Uber would be like, yeah, we're going to buy you out. But I think if anything, they're going to be the Pepsi of that sector, because they are going to be in the freight. They are going to be in food delivery. They're going to get into, I mean, they could acquire, I mean, DoorDash, maybe something like that. I don't know if that would be like, because DoorDash, I'm seeing on their app a lot more delivery for like across country kind of stuff. So they're trying to get in that.
Yeah. What if, I just thought of something. What if Kroger or like Costco like purchase one of those companies and have them do their grocery deliveries?
Man, that'd
like Walmart, man. Because what if Walmart gets tired of running it themselves? What if they'd rather span it off? I know. And just,
well, Walmart has didn't Walmart buy a company? I thought they had a delivery company. I can't remember what it is now, but I think they have one. I think they bought a company like that a few years ago. I'd have to look into it, but I think they did.
Yeah, that just popped in my head. I'm like, those guys get lazy at some time. They don't feel like spending money more. Especially, well,
and that's what it comes down to. If they pay the fee to DoorDash, or they want to come out and pocket and buy, that's what it comes down to. If it gets to the point where they look at the bottom line and it'd be cheaper to buy them and incorporate their platform into their own thing, then they would do that. But then if they're just paying a percentage toward them for the service, then that just costs of doing business. So
gotcha.
I saw late in the day, Russia announced that they were going to cut its oil production by 5%, or 500,000 barrels a day by March.
What?
Because I noticed my oil stock started kind of flying at the end of the day. They jumped big time.
Oh, so I mean, yeah, I was going to talk about my oil pickup that's on fire this week.
Is that BP?
Oh yeah, I took a swing at it, man, and I hit it.
Yeah, I saw that. Where are you at on BP today? Did you look at closing? Did it pop?
It's up. It was up 16% for the week.
Well, that's awesome, right there.
Yeah, so I got in at solid time, right in before that great earnings report, because I just had a feeling. I mean,
well, we talked about it, and you were talking about it on the podcast, so
so I just had a feeling that they were gonna do well this week. So kudos to BP for doing well with that.
Well, according to this article, that following Russia's announcement, Brent crude rose 2.25%, hitting $86 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate rose another 2%, hitting almost $80 a barrel. So oils, I mean, a lot of people hold oil. They're good, solid companies, and I don't think that play is done yet. So I think oil is a good place to be. I've got a few different oil plays in my portfolios across all of them, so I think they're all up.
We were talking.
No, go ahead.
We were talking about the oil and energy on Dave's space on Tuesday.
Right. How'd that go?
It was great. Had a pretty good turnout and a lot of engagement, just a lot of questions. There were a couple of, starters or rookies that were just now in the market and trying to figure out how to start that income and how to get, $100 or how to get a certain amount within a certain amount of time. So it was good just to really talk with Dave on basically ET and gas companies and what we're going all in on, and basically talking about like the need of gasoline and oil.
Yeah.
Like we need it for a lot of things in life, like petroleum.
Yeah. It's everywhere and everything we do.
Yeah.
But the president talked about it in his State of the Union, because, I mean, he's got a history of talking down the oil business.
Right.
The coals and the fossil fuels business. And that's been the biggest complaint from a lot of the Republicans about his energy policy is, I remember him saying, he wanted to get rid of, fossil fuel industry. It's unrealistic, and I don't agree with it, obviously. And he acquiesced on the State of the Union, saying they're going to be around. He tried to put a cap on it for like 10 years. I'm like, dude. But I think that's just his age showing. But oil and gas is going to be around. They're a great play. It's something that we're always going to need in some form or other. And I'm solidly there.
Yeah, and BP said we're gonna have oil, and they don't expect a real fall off until 2050.
No, Well, we don't have the infrastructure for anything else, you know. So until there's a solid electrical infrastructure for things like EVs, then you just can't do it, you know. And there's no reliable infrastructure for that. I know there's a lot of places that have vamped it up. I remember, like I said, when I lived in California, you could go by Costco's and Walmart's, and they had huge banks of Tesla charging stations and charge points and things like that for EVs. But that was very much localized to cities and the urban areas. Once you got out of the cities, you know, there's parts of California where there's several 100 miles between major population areas when you get on the freeways. So you kind of
right.
I also read about General Motors. They're making some moves. What is that LTH company? Right, that's one.
I got Paul. I have a video that I just recorded on YouTube that I'm editing right now.
All right.
That's laying out the whole layout.
Global Foundries,
absolutely
is it in there?
Right. Global Foundry, the chip company.
Yeah.
Yes, that is in there.
All right. That's a
they also just did you know that they also just did something with Vale, the mineral company?
No.
Out in let me see. What is it? I think they're in Brazil. Let me go to it really quick. There we go. So Vale, GM has discussed taking a small stake in Brazilian miner Vale base metal unit. It's a business that mines and processes nickel and other metals crucial to building EV batteries. So once again, Mary Barra is on the block writing checks and taking names.
And in all the news that I'm hearing is GM is the major force that's coming for Tesla. Ford is trying, but I don't think they're succeeding. I think Ford's going to be in the background. I think it's going to be a GM Tesla fight here pretty soon. So
you guys should really check out my video. Everyone out there, if you're listening to this, just go check out the GM video. I really put some time and effort into it.
Go to our link tree. There's a link to our YouTube channel there. There's a link to the podcast, and there's a link to some other random stuff.
The video soon as we get off of this podcast tonight.
There we go.
Just for you guys.
Because
GM is really GM is, like you said, Paul, is really making moves out here. Like, they're solidifying themselves in every mineral. They're making the best products, the best fleet mix, not just the fleet itself of cars. They have a mixture of cars for everyone. And they're making sure the price point is for the customer.
Right. They are in they're in the Roth and the brokerage, so I'm holding GM long.
Cheers
Cheers to that. There you go. Next up is your friend and mine, Mickey Mouse. Disney announced this week in their earnings call that they are considering reinstating their dividend by the end of the year.
Woo!
Big waves there. I'm long Disney in my kids' accounts for them for their long-term 50-year holds, so I think that'll be fine for them. What do you think about that? I know we talked a little bit on Twitter, and you floated an idea what you thought their dividend.
I love it. I love it that they reinstated it because I actually like the company Disney. I like the parks. I like the Disney Plus that I can go watch my favorite classic movies. I grew up on Disney. Right. So yeah, I actually would like that they're actually reinstating the dividend. And second, with them being a powerhouse in acquiring like ESPN and Hulu. Now they're saying that they are selling Hulu, correct?
I don't know. They haven't said that. What I've heard from people is that's what a lot of shareholders would like to see. That's, I think, was the conventional wisdom is they'd like to see them get out of Hulu and then just license their inventory to Hulu and license to other carriers and get that licensing money.
But see, they can't do that. You know why?
No,
they're 50-50. They're 50-50.
Well, yeah, they would have to sell their portion back to Comcast.
Yes, so Comcast, we own. that's good for us. So.
Yeah, are they 50-50 with Comcast or are they majority?
They're 50. It says here they're 50-50 with Comcast on it, but now Comcast has the opportunity to purchase this in 2024 based off of a deal Disney and Comcast made in 2019.
Oh, okay. So is it whose option is the buy? Is it on the Comcast side or on Disney's side?
I think it's on Disney's side.
Option to sell, not an option to buy.
Yes.
So
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Is most of the shareholders out there, I think, would rather them sell off the Hulu, license it, and focus their money on, if they're going to have their own streamer, then do that, and then their parks and stuff.
But see, Comcast wants that deal because that's gonna give us more leverage. We're gonna have Peacock and the Peacock services along with Hulu. Hulu had an increase of 2% subscribers last quarter. Peacock has an average of 20 million subscribers. So by having those two, there's a streaming war going on. Streaming will be back. It's not going anywhere. Netflix will be back,
You're going to have those bundles like the Max bundle. You're going to have those, like where you go onto one thing and you have your multiple platforms on there. And eventually we're just going to get back to like what we had cable. You're going to have one service. And
I remember when Netflix, I was getting the DVDs in college. I used to can afford. There was no way I can afford Netflix now in college.
Right.
If I was in college, So go ahead.
No, you had floated on Twitter that you thought they would maybe come up with like a 3% dividend.
Yes.
So they were paying a biannual dividend. Their last one was X day in December of 19. It paid in January of 20. That dividend amount was 88 cents. So that is what, $1.70 something on an annual basis. So based on with that same dividend amount now at their share price now, we're looking at a 1.6% dividend yield.
Oh wow!
That's where I thought they'd be more. I think when I was thinking about it, and I said low single digits, and on the Twitter thing I did, I was thinking 1 to 2%. I thought 2% was high. When you said 3, I thought the 3 sounded high to me. I think they might work up to 3 in a few years. But I was thinking more along the lines of like 1. I was like Apple range, that 1% range. I think that's where they'll be. They may just pick up where they left off, 88 cents.
Yeah,
we'll see. They're talking about the end of the year, so that would be around this time, December. If they can maintain their payout ratio they did with a biannual. So we'll see what happens. But that's my guess. Is going to be that 1.5% range.
And that's nothing. And that is not bad, listeners out there. If listeners out there. That 1% dividend, because Disney has so much growth potential behind the stock that comes with it.
Here's what we're talking about.
I'm such an aggressive investor where I have that strategy with 10, 11, 12, where it's like, all right, if I need something, I need it to start at least 3% if it's going to be valuable to me. But since I like Disney as the company, sometimes you have to separate the company and the stock price as when you're investing, and and look at which option would fit best for your situation in the portfolio. So I like the company, so I would go with Disney just to invest with it.
So their profits have grown. Like we're looking from pre-pandemic, they were in 2018, their profit ratio was 44, almost 45%, 40% in 2019. Then, pandemic, they dropped down. They were still 30%. And in 2022, they reported a gross profit ratio of 34.24. So they're creeping back up there. I don't see a reason they wouldn't get back up to that same, profits and operating income they had pre-pandemic. They're about halfway there as far as operating income. So I give them a few more years and some positive moves. I think, people were charged up with Bob Iger coming back in the first place because I just think he's a better CEO than the other dude was.
Yes.
I think we'll see it, but he's trying to cap himself to 2 years. So we'll see if he can do something.
I saw that on CNBC. They were saying, I saw that he was capping himself at 2 years. I was like, I wonder what's going to happen to the stock on that day.
Well, it depends on who takes over. It depends if they get somebody, they start grooming somebody now and they kind of get them introduced to the markets over the next couple of years. So that way, the same way, Tim Cook didn't come on the scene as a brand new face, when Steve Jobs was taken off. So it was same with, Jassy kind of took over for Bezos with that same kind of, people knew who he was and he was able to kind of pick up and keep running, so they stumbled a little bit this time. Hopefully they have a better plan going forward with the next guy.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think with them when companies reinstate their dividend, and means that they're making an effort. They're playing with a lot of money.
Yeah. And they're taking their shareholders seriously.
Yeah. So and that means that they're listening.
Right.
So that's a good thing. I mean, who else would you guys want to have a dividend out there?
Yeah.
If Disney is turned it back on, who else would say, we'll start paying a dividend.
People are already talking about Google and Amazon being value companies. Yeah, I think Google will come out before Amazon, but I think those will be the next surprise dividend payers. And 25 years from now, we're going to be talking about Google being an aristocrat, dividend aristocrat, with a 5% yield.
Shares here sitting there,
right? So we talked earlier about it was BP. Get back to BP a little bit. BP is a British company.
Yes.
So what that means, and this was I think news to you, was you don't own BP. young man, you do not own shares in BP. You own what basically amounts to an IOU. BP on the American Stock Exchange is an ADR, an American Depository Receipt. What that means that it has ownership in a form. Oh, look at you, number 3.
Listen, you're telling me I don't own some shares in something. I gotta drink to this one.
Drink to this. Time for the intervention. So the ADRs, and I haven't researched it very much. I'm assuming there's a way that as an American you can get an account on a foreign exchange. The Australian Stock Exchange, the Toronto Stock Exchange, the Japanese Stock Exchange, and trade those companies. That would be a lot of hassle, and there'd be a lot of changing American currency into the local currency in order to make trades. So what they came up with was this way for foreign companies to list on American exchanges with an ADR, and they issue ADRs. They're traded with the American Stock Exchange with American currency. But things like dividends and payouts from those companies, there is a currency exchange that happens.
Right.
And you've experienced that with Zim. Zim is the same kind of thing.
Yep, I know about
I don't
Zim
know if Zim is an ADR, but I know that there was
Neo. Actually, I just got charged a fee with Neo because it's ADR. So, yep.
So, and on the face, it's not a big deal for most companies. When I get nervous with ADRs with countries that are less than reputable. So Chinese companies that you own ADRs, I don't know if that's Neo, but like.
Oh yeah, it's definitely Neo.
Yeah, I don't. But so here's what happens with some of these companies. Like China has a lot of control over their country. I mean the companies within the country. The government does.
Yep.
And they can manipulate things kind of at will. They don't have the kinds of checks and balances that we do here, which although weak in our SEC, but they don't have those same kinds of checks and balances in the country. So you run the risk of these countries manipulating their exchanges, manipulating their companies, and doing shady things with them in order to lower your return on some of these shares. At the same time, you don't own the shares, so they can kind of, it's an extreme situation, but they can say, we're canceling the ADRs. It's basically like a company goes bankrupt, but it doesn't go bankrupt. We're just canceling the ADRs. And it's happened a little bit here with the threat of delisting companies from our stock exchanges. So those are just some things. If you have a company and it's an ADR, just know that there's risks involved. Sometimes there can be some liquidity concerns if they're not trading at a good volume. They're just less liquid than some countries. It just depends on the company too. Like I wouldn't have any issues at all with a BP ADR, but I would look twice at some other countries listing their company ADRs on our exchanges. Just something to be aware of.
Yes, and obviously those are those companies like that carry the ADR, and you'll see that they're more so you'll see a lot of high risk ADR companies out there. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh yeah, I think you should look up. I think it's still on Netflix, but it's a show called The China Hustle, and this was. Did you hear about it?
No, they hustling us over there. Come on.
So this was the China Hustle is a documentary about this guy who was going to invest in a Chinese company, and it was supposed to be, they showed pictures on their websites of factories and all this production going on, and then he goes over to China to actually investigate it, boots on the ground, and it's like empty warehouses, and there's no actual company behind this investment. So anyway, that's a very elementary review of it, but it's the China Hustle. I think it's on Netflix, but it's a good look into how some of these countries run their companies and some of the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes, that unless you are doing your proper due diligence, which is why we don't give investment advice here, we just tell people what we're doing and ideas we have. Unless we're
sitting here drinking and talking stocks. Do not listen to us.
You don't buy stock from somebody who drinks beer while they're doing it.
Yeah, do not listen to. And shout out to our guy out there, Tim. Tim, he's always sipping on some brews on a Friday night. So I know he's out there in Cali doing that. So shout out to Tim out there.
So I had those few things I wanted to talk about. I know you said you had some things you wanted to talk also. So what do you got going on, man?
Besides BP, Nike has caught my eye.
Nike?
Yes, Nike, the check. They are 30% below all-time highs.
Are they really?
Sales is increasing at a very high rate. They only have a 1.1% dividend yield, but Nike's a growth company. Obviously, they have branding power, which makes them a huge moat in the game. So customers will always pay for Nike branding.
I want to read that book, the founder's book. I heard it's amazing. the story
Yes,
of
I heard
Nike.
great stories. I've heard great reviews, not great stories, but great reviews about that book. China is their biggest market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which was their biggest headwind last year, because right now they're still going through their COVID situation, right? They had a declining sales past quarter, which is fine, but they had a revenue of 17% increase last year. They had $13.3 billion Nike made.
Was that this last? I traded their last earnings and I did well on it. I think I traded calls on last earnings and did good. I haven't paid attention
Yeah.
this quarter.
Mm-hmm. They said earnings per share beat estimates. That's why the stock ran up.
Good.
But the one thing that investors do not like right now, which I really don't really care for too, is that inventory is at 43% higher than last year.
Yeah.
But hear me out here. Adidas is losing money because Kanye is not with Yeezy.
He dropped Jeezy.
So
Yeezy
right?
or Jeezy?
Yeezy with a Y.
Okay.
Yep. They call him Ye, but Kanye, yeah. So he's not with Adidas anymore. So they're losing money. So I mean, Nike's main categories over in China, and they're going through their COVID situation. So when they open up over there, once again, oil is gonna continue to boom even more. Nike, I feel like Nike is gonna boom too. Yum Brands that are over there is gonna boom, and I feel like Neo's gonna go. It's gonna go ham. But Nike has really caught my eye, undervalued, and I don't have anything like that in my portfolio. I've always wanted to just own something like retail, and I couldn't figure out if I wanted. Dave. Yes, Dave would be telling me to buy figs, but then I feel like I would buy figs, and then the bottom would drop out of it, like Justin Verlander 12-6 curveball. I'm just
that's funny. I stay away from retail too, but my wife's M1 account. One of these days we'll go over these accounts that we hold for our family members, but her M1 is all retail all the time. And figs, I am up 36% in her account on figs.
I should have added that to Shayla's M1.
Yeah, my average cost per share is a little over $6. And it looks like it closed at 876 today.
Yeah,
so I'm doing well on figs, and we'll do that. We'll do our wives' accounts. We'll do a wife account episode one day because, she's doing well. She's up 13% overall in her account, and most of the holdings are green. So, but go ahead. I didn't mean to hijack your.
Oh no! You're good. You're good. And I noticed too in the market that the home builders ETF is outpacing the S&P 500,
which sucks for me because I own puts on the home builders ETF.
Oh my God! So guys, Paul is in trouble when you're on put.
I got long
the market
puts.
goes up, you're in trouble. But don't sell though.
No, I'm not. I got. Let me tell you what they are. They are long. Maybe I don't own it anymore. Do I? ITB. Yeah, ITB is U.S. Home Construction ETF.
Okay.
I am long this January 19th, 2024 $65 put. So
they're
so
never mind. But yeah, I noticed, so that got me thinking, because today I added MPW. I'm trying to get to like 200 shares of MPW, so I'm at 157 now after today. But I was like, what else do I want to add to the real estate part in the Roth? Because I transferred all of the real estate to my Roth now, just so I can take advantage of all the taxes and stuff. But I was looking at apartments because I noticed, obviously, I live in an apartment and my rent's been going up. So I'm like, I really got some apartment REITs here. So I've been looking at Camden Properties. It's 18% undervalued. It's a large cap. It's got a $122 price tag on it. It's in the Sun Belt luxury. So what that means, it's in states that get sun basically like 80-90% of the time. So like, or like Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia, all South Carolina, right in that area. It's got a 3.06 yield, so I like that, right? 1 year return is at 3.6. 5 year returns at 4.1, and then you got the 3 year AFFO, because we don't look at the payout ratio for REITs. We look at the AFFO, and it's at 10, or the growth is at 10.5%, which is great. And the AFFO for the 5 year is 9.1%. Oh, I mean, the 5-year dividend growth is at 4.1, and the 1-year dividend growth is at 3.06. So for a REIT, I mean, this is pretty solid here. Like I said, they just own apartments.
What does Brad think about Camden? Is that on his list?
I don't know. I would like to run that by him to see, because I'm really interested in getting into this. There's a couple other ones too. There's one called Sun Communities. They own like mobile homes.
Ooh, those are good.
Across
the
country.
tornado belt.
Yeah, no, and they're based. I think they're based in Michigan. I'm being dead serious.
Right.
So with my real estate and my Roth, I'm trying to get diversified as much as possible. Also I have a lot of healthcare REITs, so I need to get more. Obviously, I can go buy Realty Income. I know about that one, but I'm going to find stuff that's undervalued that no one is really talking about, because those are the ones that will really.
Let me throw one to a bug in your ear. I am this is going back again to my wife's account, IIPR. So I'm bullish on the marijuana industry. I think
yes, I'm bullish. Yeah, I'm bullish.
I think eventually it's going to come through. There's support. They just need to get through the noise that's going on right now. But IIPR is an Innovative Industrial Properties Inc. They are a company that owns warehousing and the manufacturing buildings for state licensed cannabis facilities.
Okay.
I'm down a little over 3% right now in the portfolio with them, but they pay a dividend of, pulling up right now. It looks like
1.1. Is it? Yeah, 1.8.
8.18 annual dividend yield. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Annual dividend rate.
Oh yes, you're actually right. It's 8 point. Yep, you're right. I was looking at how much they pay out a year.
Yeah, they're paying 180 is the regular dividend. That's their the annual dividend is 720 right now. But it fluctuates. They don't have a set. They're a REIT, so there's no set dividend. It's based on their income. They went through an issue kind of like MPW with some tenants not paying rent and kind of coming through some issues with that. They had the same
here not paying their rent, man.
Well, the pandemic, and it's industrial and commercial, so
what happens if I don't pay my rent, Paul?
Your ass is on the curve.
Dog doesn't have a home.
I got an extra closet here.
Hey, that's perfect. Hey, listen.
But so this is one. I like it. I'm gonna hold it long in her account because, like I said, I'm bullish eventually on marijuana. I think this is gonna be the Coke and Pepsi kind of thing. The companies that lead the pack. So just put your IIPR as one to put on your list to look at.
I like this.
I haven't done any of your 12-12-1 screening, which you might want to do and let us know what you think. But I think it's a good hold.
You mean 10, 11, 12?
10, 11, 12.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm saving this here on Yahoo Finance, because I was looking at, but this company was like, wasn't this thing like $120 not too long ago? Wasn't this a pretty expensive stock?
So,
where at one point I seen this roll across the ticker at like $110 at one point.
I mean they were. Let me get my. I'm using Schwab right now. Yeah, yes. I mean they have a 52-week high in the 260s. And they came down to the 80s, but that was in 2021, and then they started having, like I said, some issues with tenants, and lawsuits and not paying rent. So people got real sketchy about it. Same as MPW. It really is kind of the same story with just different people. But right now, I mean, it's almost 2020 was the last time it was down at these levels.
Oh my!
As far as price goes, so you're like at a 3-year low right now.
17 too. Yeah. Price to earnings at 17.
Yeah, I think IIPR is a good something to look at, something to put through your own. And this is for everybody, not just the dog. For somebody to put through their own little watch list and screener as far as their risk reward goes. But to me, as far as REITs go, and if you're specifically looking for the cannabis sector, then it's a good REIT for that sector.
No, I'm gonna take a look at this, guys, because I think the cannabis sector is definitely on its way. I mean, states are getting regulated. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah. In her account, I've got the IIPR and I've got the MSOS, which is just like a cannabis ETF.
So MSOS, yes. So make sure we got the ETF for cannabis too, just so if you you feel you don't want to go all in on one company, we always make sure we talk about ETFs, those exchange traded funds that carry all the companies within one basket of an ETF. So
MSOS is Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF. They have looks like they have a 1-year distribution, 7 cents. It's not a huge dividend payer, but they own Green Thumb Industries, Curaleaf, Trulieve, Verano, Cresco Labs, Verano Holdings.
mm-hmm.
Those are their top holdings right there. So it is a pure play. You're not doing like a Scott's Miracle Grow and those kinds of companies in here.
Hey,
which are
shout
good. They're not bad. Yeah, they're not bad. But there's no what is it, the Constellation Brands. You're not getting those cannabis adjacent companies. You're getting pure play.
Are you talking Tilray?
Yeah.
Those type of companies?
Well, I think Tilray is pure. I'm not sure what their whole business model is. I don't own them, so I've never looked at them.
They say Tilray brands, so I don't think they're just more. I think they're more than one. They have like a cannabis beer too. They're in the They have a bunch of stuff that they're coming out with. But yeah, that's awesome.
Another couple of election cycles, and we're going to see a federal legalization of cannabis. We're going to see it spreading across the states, and these companies are going to come up. And so I'm playing the long game with the MSOS. That's definitely a more of a riskier play. But IIPR, I think, is a little bit better with especially with the dividend, and it's an industrial REIT, so you're holding on to that kind of stuff because they can
checking boxes.
Well, yeah, but they could pivot. If all of a sudden something happens with cannabis, they have the space. You've got.
Well, if people don't have cannabis, do you understand what goes on? There's a lot of crazy. Man, this is huge here. Look at this guy in this facility here. Look at this guy. He looks like a scientist in here. No, these guys are really taking the whole process here. I'm looking at their investor relations here. This is cool. I'm definitely adding this to the watch list. I'm gonna ask Brad about CPT because once again I'm really interested in that one because I want to be once diverse, as much as possible. So cannabis would be awesome to have in the REIT portfolio along with the apartment with MPW. Yes,
there you go.
Thank you, Paul.
Heck yeah, man. Happy to help out. I love we I don't know if people notice, but we're very loose with our organization. We don't really come in with a script. We kind of chat ahead of time about a couple of stocks we want to talk about. And I like that we kind of let this thing go where it goes because, China hustle and marijuana was not where I thought this would go.
No. I did not think we were going to end on IIPR. But I'm happy we did because I remember this stock being $200. I'm like, man, I can't get this one here. Along with trying to get MPW and all the other ones. So now it's at $88. I'm like, all right, maybe I can look at this one. So yeah, I like IIPR, and then Nike is undervalued. I definitely thinking about adding that one. And we have a follower question out there because I tweeted out. Yeah, so Dividend Talks. Shout out to Dividend Talks out there, and shout out to all of our followers on Twitter, all 280 of you guys for getting us up there very quickly. You guys are very awesome. We got almost 140 YouTube subscribers. You guys are doing, like, and subscribe. We're continuing to put out great content. You guys are liking it. It's awesome. But Dividend Talks, he says, or his question is, would you rather, as for someone that's new, would they DCA, which means dollar cost average, or put a whole lump sum into the market?
Man, that's a good question.
So we're talking, obviously, dollar cost and average means like either weekly, or you're putting it in $5, $10, $20, whatever amount in daily, or you're putting it in every 2 weeks when you get paid. Our goal on here, the investing on a 9 to 5, obviously, we're 9 to 5ers. We're more likely getting paid every week, or more likely getting paid bi-weekly, 9 times out of 10, right?
Right.
So we're more so likely dollar costing, averaging into the stock market. That's what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. I've literally just been adding $100, $150 every 2 weeks. Sometimes I'll add some $10, $20 during the day. You guys see it on Twitter. I'll randomly add. Today I added $52. I opened a position in Tesla. I added $52.
There you go.
I'm going to continue to DCA into that. Now, I can't completely lump sum into the market because I have a life going on, and this is a long-term obviously investing journey. So I know I have the time and I've started, which is the hard part. What do you think about that, Paul?
Here's my take on it. So I've had the benefit of being able to look at this in a real life sense. When I was only working and I didn't have a lot of capital, then 100% you're DCAing based on your paychecks, based on your.
Yes.
I mean, I was doing side hustles, driving for
Mhm.
Uber, delivering for Amazon. That money would come in and it would go into the M1 for DCA. So however regular that was. When we sold our home in California to move out here, I was in the situation where I had a lump sum and I had to decide what I want to do with it. So I continued to DCA into the M1, but in my brokerage account with my lump sum, I put
Mhm.
the majority of the lump sum into a high interest account just to gain some interest while it's sitting there. And then I've
Right.
been adding weekly companies that I like. So as companies come up, I have a set percentage, 2% of my account that I'll buy a position in. If it's a
Okay.
company that I think is going to be volatile, I'll buy half of it. So I'll buy, let's
Love it.
say, a few $100 into it, and then I'll watch it for a few weeks. And if it goes down, I'll actually add more. If it goes up, I'll watch it and just kind of play the market to see if I'm going to be able to get in. If it starts running where I think, okay, this is it, this is then I'll go ahead and fill the position up so I have my full 2%. Um,
Right.
so it kind of depends on where you are. If you have the luxury of a large amount of money and you have and it came up today. One of the questions today was, are you better off just going into like a broad market ETF, VOO or VTI?
Mhm.
And I think you are,
Right.
unless you have the time, unless you have like the ability, like the dog does, to sit down and run a stock through a screener to look at his parameters and has a plan. He has a plan on if this stock doesn't check boxes 1 through 10, I'm not going to buy it. If you don't
Mhm.
have that kind of discipline, if you don't have that kind of education, then you really are better off taking your lump sum, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, whatever it is, putting it into like a VTI or a VOO or a SCHD, JEPI, one of those things that you looked at that you decide you can risk. And then what a lot of people do, and I know the dog does, is when you get those JEPI dividends, when you get those SCH dividends, then you go buy something else with it. You can take that dividend from your broad spectrum ETF and go buy $10 of this, $5 of that, $100 of this. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. It really depends on what you have as far as your income, what you need the money for, how soon you're going to need that money, and
Exactly.
and what your goals are. So overall, I would say lump sum into a broad market ETF and then adjust from there. As money comes in, start DCAing into smaller companies, REITs or other things like that. But that way you get your feet wet, because if you're new to it, then you got to be in the market. You got to see how it runs.
Yeah.
You got to feel that emotion that you feel when the market goes up 5%. You got to feel the emotion when it goes down 10% in a day, because it's going to happen. You're going to have those days where you look at your market and all of a sudden that $5,000 you put in there is worth 3,500, and that sucks. But it's going to happen, and
Yes.
you don't want to be in Lyft and have a 30% loss in your day. That's going to
And
kill you.
yeah, and that kills your day, that kills your vibe. Like, and that's our goal is like my portfolio never really I've never seen my portfolio get down 20%. I have when I've done I blew up an options account, but
Oh, we all
that's just
have.
another story. But
I've
my
been through that whole
long-term
run.
portfolio right now, I've never seen it really down past 4 or 5%. I'm gonna be honest with you guys because it's majority, and I built it off of the index fund, as Paul was saying. Even for the for new investors out there that reach out to me and say, "Hey, what do you think I should start with?" I strictly go straight to ETFs, such as the ETF is VTI, VU, FXAIX index fund. My 19-year-old cousin, shout out to Dylan out there, he just opened up his Roth. He's gonna, or I don't know if he opened it up or not. I hope you open it up, or I hope you opened up that Roth IRA out there, man. But anywho, I gave him a list of stocks to start with, and they were basically all ETF, BTI, SCHD, and I told him to get him a monthly one, JEPI.
Right.
And and then I told him once you load up on those, then we'll start on some individuals from there. Um, so it's like it all, like Paul said, all depends on your preference and how often you're getting paid. But basically, we want to make sure you guys are taken care of out there.
Yeah. look at what, and another thing too is you hear all these. The general rule is if you're gonna need that cash, in a few years, 3 to 5 years,
Nope.
you don't want it locked up in the market because you just don't know what the next couple years. I think, and me personally, I think 23 is gonna be sideways to low as far as the market goes. I don't think we're going to see any real kind of recoveries until 2024. That's my personal view. We'll have a few rallies. We'll have pullbacks. That's what 2023 is going to be, in my opinion.
I agree because I haven't seen. There's really nothing in my portfolio that's really going crazy besides energy. So that's just showing me. I mean, even SCHD is not even going crazy.
Yeah, because it follows the market. So as long as the market's sideways, SCHD is going to be sideways.
FXIX is going, it's not even running hot. It's going sideways as well. So it's like, that's just giving me an indicator right there. It's like, all right, well, let's go find some undervalued things to see if we can pick up some extra stragglers in the portfolio, like Nike and those apartment REITs. So yeah, we'll see what the year goes or how the year goes. As long as we're going to continue to dollar cost average and be here on Fridays, sipping some brews and having a good time.
Man, I love the questions. I think that was a great. I love have some interaction with our fans. We actually know there's people out there listening to us.
Yes. Someone's out there listening to us babble. Man, that's good. So shout out to shout out to all of our subscribers and followers out there for engaging with us. We definitely appreciate it. It hypes us up. It gets us going.
That's right.
Gets the people going.
It's fun. And this has been a fun hobby, but it's get that little bit of reward. I appreciate that. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, of course. No, this is awesome, and that's basically all that I had to talk about. We talked about Disney, which was awesome. We hit on BP with energy sector and Nike. I think Nike's undervalued. I think I might go in and grab some shares. But IIPR is looking good too, so I don't know what I want to do.
That's what I like about M1 is I just throw it on the list, adjust my allocations, and then just let the DCA happen. I DCA $25 a week into each one for my kid and my wife. And then what I'm starting to do now is little side things when I get some extra $20, $30 from different reward cards or things like that. I'm going ahead and throw that in there too. So that'll pad that account. So it's good. It works out well. It's nice to have a little place to park, some extra cash, and also play with companies that I wouldn't put in my normal portfolio.
Yes. No. Nope. M1's awesome. I have basically this all like tech stuff that's in there, like all my tech portfolios. Mm-hmm. But I forgot to mention for real estate, we'll eventually talk about Fundrise too on here outside like of the stock market.
I think we do. We have to put together an alternative investing and side hustle episode because I've got a few. I've got like Republic and Start Engine, some investments in startup companies in those two platforms. Fundrise, Lofty.ai.
Landa.
So you got Landa, I've got Lofty, which is kind of this. I don't know if Landa. I think they're similar.
Yeah, Landa is more so in the once it's a sun. It's not even Sunbelt because they got properties in New York. So what we're talking about, guys, is we have these real estate apps that they go out and do crowdfunding? Yeah, they get basically us as investors.
Yeah, different ones have different ways of doing it. But yeah, it's crowdfunding, or you're buying shares of a home, or you're buying shares of a REIT. Or something, because I think Fundrise has kind of got like they have a portfolio of companies and you're buying into that portfolio.
Yes, Lofty, and then as you upgrade, you get bigger portfolios.
Right. So
I'm trying to get to like that basic portfolio. I'm not trying to get to. I'm going to get there by the end of the year. So that will unlock more properties and everything. Fundrise is awesome. I want to show that. I think I might do like a YouTube short on that. But yeah, Landa is more so homes. So it's more so like it's like apartments, townhomes, and
that's Lofty. You're buying a token of the home, and then you get rent, and you sharing the expenses and stuff like that. So we'll have a whole episode. We'll do one on our alternative stuff because that'll be fun.
And and I know people out there want to get into real estate, and it's like, how do I get into real estate?
Right.
There's more than one way to skin a cat out there. So you know.
I do not want to be a landlord. I don't want to own a house and then have tenants and repairs. And I know there's lots of benefits. And for those of you out there who do it, that's awesome. You love it. It's right now. I mean, I may end up doing it. We have some ideas in the future with the home we're in now and some potential moves in the future, but that's 3 to 5 years in the future. I may end up doing it. At this point in my life, I just can't imagine that extra burden. But I do know there's some amazing tax breaks, before you jump on our throats as far as being a landlord. I know it's amazing.
Yes.
I know there's lots of benefits
it's
to
amazing.
it.
I wish I could do it.
Anything. I'm not at a point right now where I can. Here's a little secret, dog. And here's what I am doing. I'm going to start my an Amazon business here. I'm in the process of getting going.
Great. I love that.
Seller on Amazon. So we'll talk some about that. I think our buddy Jamar has.
We got to get him on here. Shout out to Jamar.
He wants to do some options trading. We talked on Twitter. He wants to get into some options and stuff like that. And so I told him we'll do that. We'll have an episode when he's ready to come on and do a little thing. So we'll be in touch with Jamar, especially once I get things going with Amazon, because I know I'll have some questions I think I'll run by him live. And we can have a little back and forth about options in Amazon. I think that'll be fun, and I think he'd be into it.
Yeah, no, he's
I know awesome. He's a busy dude. He's
he's
Amazon
busy.
billionaire. So
he's probably playing that Harry Potter game out there right now because he just bought it today on the PS5. I see you out there, Jamar. I see you playing the Harry Potter game. It looks great, man. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The graphics looks great. There's a lot of creativity that went into that game.
That's beyond. I tried reading that book once, and my son got into it. I'm like, there's too many characters, too much going on for me. But more power to you. And I'm not a gamer, so
I did read them in middle school, and then I did take 2 days when I was in college to watch all of the Harry Potter movies, like all of them.
He's been into it. We're close to well, you're closer, but we're close to Universal. So I think we'll take him down there one of these days. And
Comcast, baby.
There you go, Comcast. You throw that out there.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That's awesome. Comcast is in my kids' portfolio too, so it's there.
Hey, we're all going in there. I just like every time I hear someone they're going somewhere, I'm like, oh yeah, yep, that is the stock. No, that's right. That's awesome. I've never been to Universal. I got to get there one day.
How
close are you guys?
Man, I don't know. So we're closer to like Kansas City, Missouri area.
Okay.
That's kind of the neck of the woods I'm in. Branson, Kansas City, region. So I want to go down there because Jupiter is there. Not far from Orlando, and that's where spring training is happening.
Yes, sir, Jupiter.
So that's a trip that I got to plan, and we just moved here in the last summer, so we're getting settled in. But that's on the docket to get some of those things done. And you're not too far away, dog. So maybe GM will bring you up here.
We'll see. Who knows? Who knows where I'll land?
That'll be on. I'm sorry, should I not have said the letters? Well, you got the shirt on, so people know where you work.
Hey, you're fine. At this point here, it is all good.
Yeah, we're all friends.
I mean, what could happen at this point? Nothing. Yeah, no. And Jupiter's not too far from where I'm at either, so it will be awesome to do like a spring training. I've been trying to do like a spring training.
I want to go. I'm going to go back.
Now that we're here. Spring training, to watch them do the practice, a game, basically do the whole thing. I know that sounds boring out there, but we're baseball guys, and that stuff excites me.
No, and I've said that from the jump, and I think people who are baseball fans, I think, and I've said this before, I don't know if on this podcast, but on other podcasts, the stock market is like baseball. It's a 162 game season. It's a long slog, and every game adds up. Every swing, every step to the plate adds up. What you want at the end of the season is to have a winning percentage. Some are losers, some are winners. You want the winners to outpace the losers, and you want to go on to the next season still on the roster, still taking swings at the bat. And that's the whole point of it. Not every company that you buy is gonna increase 15, 20, 25%. Some companies are going to lose money. Some companies are going to go bankrupt. Some companies are going to get acquired by other companies. Yep. It's just, you just have to, unless you go the route of a broad-based ETF, which I think is a great idea. If you're out there picking individual companies, then you have to understand that risk. That risk is there, that company could go under. There are people who had their life savings in GE. They had their life savings, their retirements. They had their entire life planned out based on GE stock, but GE went bankrupt. and they got wiped out. The same thing happened to GM and Chrysler and stuff during the Great Recession. Those companies lost out on all of their income. They lost all their money. They had to get bailed out, which meant they were bankrupt, and their shareholders got wiped out completely because of the bankruptcy. And that just made it so people who had their life savings bent up in those companies completely lost out and everything. Yeah.
GE definitely took a hit.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. Like I said, if you had GE, if you had GM, when those companies went through bankruptcy, you lost everything. So it's going to happen unless, that's why.
It's part of the game.
Yeah. And that's why I think you are, if you go to those broad-based ETFs, then you're going to ride those waves a lot better. If you have the guts to weather that risk in your own portfolio with individual stocks, then you do that. And that's cool. Whatever works for you. That's why we're not going to give you your advice. We're not going to give you advice on what you should do. We're going to give you our opinions, and you have to take that for what it's worth. Two guys almost done with their beer at the end of the podcast on Friday night.
Listen, I'm shooting threes like I'm Steph on these boys. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I had to finish my third one. But yeah, guys, we've enjoyed this Friday sesh here. We had some brews, talked some stocks, talked some baseball and life. Yeah.
We'll pick it up. We'll pick up next time with some fun stuff. I think our next one will be an alternative one. We'll talk about our different side hustles outside of the regular stock market, and I'll give you some ideas.
I think that would be a good plan. We can talk about that. And do you think we could, obviously we'll talk about this offline, but we'll ask if we can bring Jamar on and stuff like that. So
for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Well, awesome, guys. This is the Dividend Dog, and we got Paul Options_Legacy here on the Investing on a 9 to 5 podcast. We had a great time sipping some brews, talking some stocks, talking what's undervalued, talking what's hot, and we talked baseball, answered our followers' subscriptions, questions. Wanted to give you guys a shout out there. Thank you again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
See y'all later.
We're out.